Hello everybody and welcome to Cucina Quarantena. Well today, who am typically behind the camera, will be making a traditional French omelette, and I will mess it up in some way. It is, I believe it was Jacques Pepin who said that he measures a chef's skill by how good his French omelette is, and since I am no amateur chef, much less professional, then I will for sure mess this up. But if you want a very good tutorial on how to make this, then look up on YouTube Jacques Pepin classic French omelette.
But you're actually doing a tutorial right now.
Yeah. So allow me to recommend a better one. But for this recipe today, we're going to need 4 eggs, 2 tablespoons plus a little bit more butter, salt, pepper, and then one more thing, we're going to be going out to the garden to take chives.
Okay.
Chives. I'm sure this has already been said on this Cucina Quarantena, but chives are a really cool plant because they grow back. You can just snip off the top, and they'll grow back. So.
And these bunches of chives, I would say, are older than you, Lucca. These came from our old house, which was more than 10 years ago. So they just multiply and multiply. That's why they're better than growing onions. All right. Any more herbs you want to put in there? Tarragon, basil. We've got the tarragon there with the flowers. We've got cilantro. We've got parsley, sage, rosemary. What do you want to add? Anything else?
Sure, a little bit of tarragon.
A little bit of tarragon. That's a very French herb. Yeah, tarragon's pretty strong. So if you don't have an herb garden in your backyard, this is a really great time to think about it. And if you plant an herb garden now, it might even last through the winter. You never know.
So you see, for French omelette, the first thing you're going to want to do is, of course, mince your spices. And for the first thing, we're going to need a knife. Let's try.
No, use your scissors.
Scissors?
Yep.
All right.
This is the much more express way of doing chives, especially, is just snip them. And you can do the same thing with the tarragon. Just snip, 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 snip. See, isn't that easier than a knife?
It is.
Yep. That's how I actually did on top of our chili last night. I put cilantro and parsley and chives and I can't remember basil. And what I did is I just rolled them all into like a big fat roll, and then I snipped them with scissors. Knives are not great with herbs because they're too tender. So if you use scissors to do it, it's faster.
Although it's still pretty slow.
All right.
And that's about it for the chives.
All right.
And I'll just kind of cut tarragon a little bit.
So just a little handful of chives, or green onions. If you have to substitute green onions, that's fine too.
I thought chives and green onions were the same thing.
They are not. They are in the same family, but they are not the same thing.
And they taste just about equally good.
Okay, I think you're good.
And so now we have cut up our two actually, spices, and it's interesting because what I found is that the less ingredients a recipe has, the better it can end up being. Of course, you have certain recipes like curry and what else? What recipe like? I don't know what recipes have.
So tell us, how many eggs are you putting into the bowl? Start there.
4 eggs.
Okay.
And really, the less ingredients you incorporate into your dish, the better it's going to be, because you have less chances of clashing flavors. And so for this one, we're not even adding milk or water or anything, because what we're going to do is we're going to apparently you can add cold water to your eggs, and it makes the omelette better. And I tried it with and without, and it's just about equal. Now, this is an important part. You're going to beat your eggs.
With chopsticks.
Yeah, with chopsticks.
Is this a Jacques Pepin technique, or is this something you came up with?
It's just something I came up with because the thing is, I would use a fork, but the thing is, we're going to need to do a very unique and kind of weird technique for making the omelet. And really the texture of a French omelet, oh yeah, and by the way, make sure that it doesn't have any lumps. Like look in there, it has a whole bunch of lumps.
So that you have to whisk it until it's smooth.
Until it's completely smooth, because if you don't, then it's going to end up not great. But a very interesting thing about this type of omelet is that it's smooth in the middle. It's not...
It's creamy.
It's like the American style omelet is like a egg crepe. And, but this one is more like a, it's more like, kind of like custard almost.
All right, I think you're good.
Now we're good.
Okay.
And so now, the next thing that we're going to do, and the other reason I'm using wooden chopsticks is since you want that very creamy, smooth, texture inside the omelet, you need to mix the eggs while they cook. And the thing is, you can't really do that in a non-stick pan, and it's very important that you use a non-stick pan because otherwise you're never going to be able to get the darn thing on the pan. But it's very important that you use non-stick, and as such you can't use metal. And now we're just going to melt the 2 whole tablespoons of butter.
Okay, so our ratio then is 4 eggs, super well beaten, chopsticks or any other way you wish, and 2 tablespoons of butter melted. And then the amount of chives we have, I would say this is...
use however many chives that you want.
Yeah, you can use a lot, but this is probably a good amount, and this is about 2 tablespoons of herbs, mixed herbs.
I almost forgot to add some of the most important ingredients, and of course, since this is only egg, we're going to need to use quite a bit of salt and quite a bit of pepper to add that nice flavor.
Okay.
And then, of course, we're going to...
So you put the herbs in now, okay?
Yes. You can actually stuff this too, stuff the omelet, and I'll tell you, it's going to be kind of a blur because you need the fastest hand in the West to do this.
And we're really hoping this works because Lucca's practiced it. How many times have you practiced it, baby? It's been
maybe 4 times, 5 times, and it's come out really nicely about 1.5 times.
Yeah. And the difference between a French crepe and an American, or French omelet and an American omelet is the French one is very creamy, it's very simple, and you don't fold it. What do you do with it?
You roll it.
Yeah, looks like a burrito at the end.
And
how hot does the butter need to be? Does it need to be just hot, or do you need it to be foaming? Okay.
And the technique of this is actually something they practice in culinary schools. Apparently what you're supposed to do is, you'll see this when I put the eggs in the plate, you're supposed to mix the plate like this while doing figure 8 movements, and actually I'll demonstrate that now because it looks about ready. So,
okay, here we go.
Very important part, and just kind of leave it for a sec. And you want to make the curd as small as possible. So you want to kind of make figure 8 movements as fast as possible while you cook the eggs. Now, the important thing is for it to, at all costs, do not let it like firm up, because you're not making crepes here, you're making a French omelet. And so we're just going to keep doing this for a while. You don't want it to be too watery. I made that mistake about 3 times. And yeah, I'm just going to stop talking if you're really going to mess up. So
it's almost like scrambled eggs a little bit.
Yeah, it's basically creamier scrambled eggs. And so now, fill that in. Now we're going to wait for a little bit so that this doesn't just fall in a pile of scrambled eggs.
So it has to firm up a little bit?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
And
So what got you interested in making this recipe? Because this was your thing you decided to do.
if I'm completely honest, it was let's see. If I'm completely honest, it was that I was just watching YouTube, and this guy came across, and it was Jacques Pepin.
Yeah.
Who was apparently a famous French chef.
Yep.
I didn't know that. And he said that this is the test of a chef's.
Ooh, look at that,
the
Lucca.
chef's culinary ability.
I have to say, I was a little skeptical of how this was going to turn out a minute or two ago.
Skeptical about how this is going to turn out. Let me use this instead of the chopsticks because they're clearly breaking it up too much. You need to be very careful because you see how it's cracking. That shouldn't happen. You should be as careful as possible. And see, it's a little bit brown on the bottom, which means that I didn't actually do it 100% correct.
I'm going to turn the heat off. I think
And
maybe
now
the heat was a little too
you
high.
need to just kind of... Now is the time that you need to just pray to whatever God you believe in that this works out, because now it is in God's hands.
So the idea here is it's undercooked,
This,
essentially, by American standards. It's a little bit undercooked.
So now, this is an interesting technique that you can actually use in regular omelet making. So see how I'm typically holding it like this?
Yeah.
We're going to flip it over like this. Kind of get it loose a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then 1, 2, 3, flip.
Beautiful.
And the thing about this is that, as we can actually, important step, more butter, because this is French cooking.
What?
Yep.
You want to put butter on top of it? Is that why it's so good?
Uh-huh.
Oh, jeez.
This is how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to put more, actually, this
is in line with our diet right now, though, isn't it? With this very strange carbohydrate-free diet that we're doing, so extra butter is fine. Okay, I think that's probably enough. So why don't you get a fork and knife and cut her open, and people can have a look and see how it turned out. So the thing that's strange about this preparation, the way Lucca did it, it is what we would think of as a little bit undercooked, but I swore, every time that he's made it, I swear that there's cheese in it.
There's no cheese in it. It's just that I mix the eggs so fast that it ends up coming out. Then just please, and oh my God, I think this is the best one yet. Look at that. It should be creamy and wet on the inside. It should not be dry and solid at all.
All right.
And so now we're just going to take a bite of this. And oh yeah, just another look. See how it's still liquidy inside?
Yeah, it's kind of like but it's crepey too. It's very thin. All right, Mama's coming in for a bite. I'll be the judge of this. All right.
Oh, good.
Wow, yeah. Dang.
It's fluffy and it's creamy and it's just the best. It's more like custard than a regular omelet.
Yep. Very nice, simple preparation and a quick thing that you can do. And how could people change this up if they wanted to make this, their own?
So when the omelet was mostly rolled and there was just kind of that little part where it was sticking out here, that's when you're going to want to stuff it with whatever you're going to want to put in. You can put in literally anything. It's an omelet.
Feta cheese would be probably good, but you don't necessarily need cheese. Different herbs.
Tomatoes.
Yeah. But the French style, this would be more in line with what you would find in actual France. Well, thank you very much, Lucca, for showing us yet another one of these paleo, keto, carbohydrate-free specialties that we're trying to enjoy here while we try to get a little bit in shape. And boy, I think this is the most delicious diet I've ever been on, that's for sure. What do you think?
It's very delicious, but it's also very hard because I always want chocolate.
So tomorrow, what are we going to make tomorrow night? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Tomorrow night we're going to make your favorite salad. What was the best salad you had in France?
Shepherd's.
Yep. And what does that mean?
It's toasted goat cheese on top of bread. It's so good.
Yeah, we're going to do a hot goat cheese salad. So there you go. Thanks for watching, everybody. And Lucca, can you sign off for me, please?
Yes, and actually, there's one more thing. If you want a proper tutorial on a much better way to detail on how to do this, go look up on YouTube, type it in the search bar, Jacques Pepin. classic French omelets.
Well, I think you did a stellar job, so thank you very much. All right, everybody, we'll see you again tomorrow on Adventures with Sarah. In the morning at 11 o'clock, we've got my friend Hoda Afifi, who's joining me. Yes, we love Hoda from Egypt. And then tomorrow, we'll also be making a salad in the evening. So we'll see you all back then.
Ciao. Abamani.